Argentina survive a Swiss scare in Kansas City, coming from behind in extra time to book their place in the last four. Welcome to FairPlay, Football AI Review. This was a 2026 FIFA World Cup quarter-final, and the stakes could not have been higher. Argentina arrived as group winners, having swept through their group stage with 9 points from 9, their attacking machine purring with confidence. Switzerland, meanwhile, were the tournament's great survivors, a side built on defensive discipline and collective resilience, daring to dream of a semi-final berth against the world champions. The narrative threads heading into Kansas City were compelling. Lionel Messi had been the tournament's standout individual alongside Kylian Mbappé, joint top scorer on 8 goals, and Switzerland's task was clear: neutralize the greatest player on the planet and find a way to hurt Argentina on the counter. Murat Yakin's men had form on their side too, arriving off 4 consecutive wins, including a stunning 4-3 victory over Colombia. Lionel Scaloni deployed Argentina in a 4-1-3-2, a shape designed to give Messi and Julian Alvarez the freedom to operate between the lines, with Leandro Paredes sitting deep as the pivot and the engine room of Mac Allister, De Paul and Enzo Fernandez supporting with intensity. The system was deliberately designed to overload Switzerland through the middle and exploit any gaps that Xhaka's advanced positioning might leave. Switzerland lined up in a 4-2-3-1 under Yakin, with Xhaka and Zakaria as the double pivot tasked with screening the back four and providing a platform for Dan Ndoye to carry the ball in transition. Embolo led the line alone, making runs in behind to stretch Argentina's defensive line, while Freuler and Rieder offered width from deeper positions. The structural mismatch that defined the opening exchanges was Argentina's 3-man midfield overloading the Swiss double pivot. Mac Allister and Enzo Fernandez were consistently finding pockets of space between Switzerland's lines, drawing Zakaria and Xhaka out of position and creating corridors for Messi to ghost into. It was a mismatch Scaloni had identified, and Switzerland were unable to solve it in the opening stages. Switzerland actually began with some promise in Kansas City, pressing high and looking to unsettle Argentina's build-up. But the opening 10 minutes ultimately punished a catastrophic lapse in set-piece marking, one that would define the first half's story entirely. In the 10th minute, Argentina broke Swiss hearts at a corner. Messi delivered the ball, and Mac Allister found space in the penalty area for a second time, having already been left unmarked once from the same set-piece without punishment. This time he did not waste the gift, guiding a precise header beyond Gregor Kobel to give Argentina the lead. It was the kind of concentration lapse Switzerland simply cannot afford at this level, and Yakin's side would spend the rest of the half chasing the game. Messi himself came close before the break, testing Kobel twice with efforts from distance and drawing 2 fine saves from the Swiss goalkeeper, who was sharp and alert despite the increasingly one-sided nature of Argentine possession. Those saves proved vital in keeping Switzerland mathematically alive going into the second period. Breel Embolo earned a yellow card in the 44th minute for a foul, a booking that would later prove deeply significant and ultimately catastrophic for Switzerland's hopes. At halftime, it appeared merely a disciplinary note. Few could have predicted how that yellow card would reshape the entire match. At halftime, the narrative was straightforward. Argentina were in control, carrying the lead and the better structure, but 1-0 is never comfortable against a Swiss side of this quality and experience, and Yakin would have targeted the wide areas and set pieces as the route back into the contest. Switzerland did emerge with greater urgency in the second half and found their equalizer through a moment of genuine quality. In the 67th minute, Dan Ndoye played a clever 1-2 with Ricardo Rodriguez down the left channel and, arriving into a tight angle inside the penalty area, fired a precise right-foot effort underneath Emiliano Martinez. It was a technically excellent finish and sent the Swiss supporters in the stadium into raptures, resetting the match entirely at 1-1. Then came the most dramatic and controversial moment of the tournament so far. In the 72nd minute, Leandro Paredes went in on Embolo, and referee Juan Pedro Silva Pinheiro initially issued Paredes a yellow card for the challenge. But VAR official Guillermo Pacheco intervened, informing the referee there had been no contact, that Embolo had gone to ground theatrically to win the foul. Pinheiro cancelled the yellow card issued to Paredes and instead booked Embolo for simulation. Since Embolo already carried a booking from the first half, that second yellow became a red card, and Switzerland were reduced to 10 men with 18 minutes of normal time remaining. Embolo becomes the fourth player in 60 years of World Cup history to receive a second yellow for simulation, and the tournament's first ever dismissal under the mistaken identity protocol. It was a moment of brutal footballing justice, but it utterly transformed the match. Playing with 10 men fundamentally altered Switzerland's ability to hold their shape. Yakin made a triple substitution at 86 minutes. Amdouni on for Ndoye, Muheim for Reeder, and Widmer for Sau, reshuffling to try and compress the space and see out 120 minutes if necessary. But with Argentina's quality and numerical advantage, Switzerland were always chasing the game tactically rather than threatening to win it. Scaloni made his own decisive changes at 85 minutes, withdrawing Rodrigo de Paul and Nahuel Molina simultaneously to introduce Lautaro Martinez and Gonzalo Montiel. The fresh legs of Lautaro in particular would prove decisive, bringing an immediate goal threat that Switzerland's exhausted 10 men simply could not handle. Argentina hit the woodwork in the closing stages of normal time through what the data records as a single woodwork hit, keeping Switzerland alive as the match edged towards extra time. It was a warning sign the Swiss could not heed. The sending off of Embolo was unquestionably the decisive moment that settled this quarterfinal. From 10 men and 1-1 at 72 minutes, Switzerland never truly threatened to win the match. They might have survived in normal time, but the numerical disadvantage, compounded by fatigue across 120 minutes of World Cup football in Kansas City's warm summer air, ultimately proved an impossible burden. Extra time told the story Argentina had written in their own blood and brilliance. The first 15 minutes were attritional, with both sides probing and Switzerland defending with extraordinary commitment despite being a man light. Scaloni threw on Thiago Almada at 91 minutes to inject directness, and the young substitute was immediately involved in the build-up play, creating problems from wide positions and driving at a tiring Swiss defense. Nicolas Otamendi came on at 106 minutes for the injured Christian Romero, adding physicality in defense. Then, at 110 minutes, José Manuel López replaced the exhausted Leandro Paredes, and it was López who would assist the goal that finally broke Switzerland's extraordinary resistance. In the 112th minute, Julián Álvarez delivered the moment of the match. López found him inside the penalty area and Álvarez curled a stunning effort into the far corner, a goal of genuine quality, taken under pressure by a player who had been tireless for every one of those 112 minutes. Argentina 2, Switzerland 1, and the dam had finally burst. The third goal arrived in the 120th minute, a moment of chaos that summed up Switzerland's desperate exhaustion. Álvarez dispossessed Xhaka deep in his own half. Argentina broke forward through Almada, who drove into the penalty area and tested Kobel, only for the rebound to fall kindly to the freshly introduced Lautaro Martinez, who converted into an empty net from just outside the 18-yard box. Lautaro's celebration said everything about the emotional release of a squad that had fought through adversity to reach the semifinals. Argentina's possession dominance told the real statistical story of this match. 59% of the ball, 615 accurate passes completed at 89% accuracy across 120 minutes. The Albiceleste suffocated Switzerland with the ball, denying them the space on the counter they desperately needed. When Switzerland had possession, they were organized, but they never truly threatened sustained attacking play. The expected goals figures were even more revealing, Argentina generating 1.81 xG against Switzerland's 0.61. The Swiss had shots on target, 5 in total matching Argentina's 7, but the quality of those chances was consistently inferior. Argentina's 22 total shots, 12 of them from inside the box, reflected a team that dominated the areas that matter. Switzerland's defensive shape was admirable, but the XG tells a story of containment rather than genuine threat. Defensively, Argentina had to weather the Swiss storm in the second half and were vulnerable on the left channel, the zone from which Ndoye's equalizer originated. Emiliano Martinez made 4 saves across the match and was tested by the Swiss wide play. But after Embolo's dismissal, Switzerland's attacking threat virtually evaporated, and Argentina's backline, anchored by Lisandro Martinez's 4 tackles and aggressive positioning, reasserted control through extra time. Alexis Mac Allister was Argentina's standout performer in regulation time. His goal, his passing volume of 54 completions, his 3 tackles, and his relentless defensive engagement gave Argentina the midfield engine they needed to dominate Swiss structure. He pressed, he recovered, he created, and he scored. Mac Allister was everywhere, and Switzerland had no answer for his movement or his intelligence. For Switzerland, Dan Ndoye was the one player who genuinely stretched Argentina and made them uncomfortable. His goal was a moment of class, and his 3 shots before being substituted at 86 minutes showed a willingness to drive forward and take responsibility. Ndoye has emerged from this World Cup as one of Switzerland's most exciting attacking talents, even if the ultimate reward, a semi-final, has now been denied to him. Granit Xhaka struggled to exert the influence Switzerland needed from their most experienced midfielder. His 3 shots and 73 passes were numbers that looked solid on paper, but his positional discipline was too easily bypassed in the opening exchanges, and losing possession to Alvarez for the 3rd goal in the final minute was an undignified end to what had been until that point a determined individual showing. Scaloni's management of the game across 120 minutes was astute. The triple substitution approach at 85 and 86 minutes from both sides reflected the tension and physical demands of the occasion, but it was Scaloni's decision to introduce Lautaro Martinez with fresh legs that had the most decisive impact. The fact that Argentina's winning goal came from a substitute, Lopez assisting Alvarez, and the insurance goal from another substitute in Lautaro, vindicates the depth of the Argentine squad entirely. This is only the 2nd time these 2 nations have met, and both encounters have followed an identical pattern: Argentina defeating Switzerland after extra time at a World Cup. In 2014 in São Paulo, it was Angel Di Maria's winner in extra time. 12 years later in Kansas City, it is Alvarez and Lautaro who play the heroes. History repeated itself in the most Argentine way possible: character, resilience, and individual brilliance when it matters most. Argentina's form across this tournament has been flawless. 5 consecutive wins, including 3-2 victories over Egypt and Cape Verde, showing they can grind results. The only defeat in their last 10 was a 1-0 loss to Ecuador, a result that feels like a distant memory now. The depth of this squad is extraordinary, and Scaloni has been rotating intelligently enough to keep key players fresh for knockout football. Switzerland arrived in excellent form, 4 wins from 5 in the knockout rounds, but the Embolo red card changed everything. This was not a Swiss side overwhelmed tactically. They were beaten by their own indiscipline and Argentina's relentless quality. Yakin's side exit with their heads held high, having pushed the world champions for 72 minutes before the match turned against them irrevocably. The qualification picture is now crystal clear. Argentina advanced to the semi-finals of the 2026 World Cup and Switzerland go home. For the Albiceleste, this is the expected destination. For Switzerland, it is the deepest World Cup run in their recent history and proof that Yakin has built something worth building on. Argentina face England in the semi-final on July 15th, and the fixture list could not be more loaded with history, emotion, and quality. Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane, both among the tournament's top scorers, will present a fundamentally different challenge to anything Switzerland offered. England have pace, physicality, and a genuine match winner in Bellingham. Argentina have Messi, McAllister, and a collective belief that borders on the supernatural. Argentina will qualify for the final. Their squad depth, tactical flexibility, and the sheer force of Messi's will to win another World Cup title make them the tournament's most complete team. England will test them in ways Switzerland could not, but I expect Argentina to find a way through, as they always seem to do when the stakes are at their very highest. This was a match that had everything the World Cup promises: a stunning early goal, a controversial red card that shook the foundations of the contest, a dramatic equalizer, and a jaw-dropping extra-time comeback. The Embolo dismissal will dominate the post-match conversation, but the truth is, Argentina were the better team from the first whistle and deserved to progress. Switzerland leave as tournament overachievers who came within 18 minutes of the semi-finals. That is your quarter-final in full. Argentina are in the last four, England awaits, and the 2026 World Cup is building towards something genuinely historic. Stay with FairPlay, Football AI Review. The best is absolutely still to come. That's the FairPlay verdict on this one. If you want more analysis like this, follow us, find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at FairPlay AI, and follow Anthony personally on X at Anthony Fairplay. See you next match.